9 trading mistakes that cost me $50,000. Now, every single trader should know these 9 mistakes because they're the exact reason most people lose money in the markets. And they aren't just random tips I found online. These are mistakes I've personally made and paid for with real money over the past 6 years of trading. Now, avoiding these mistakes is what eventually allowed me to build a fully automated trading portfolio across futures, equities, and crypto, which has helped me to outperform both altcoins and BTC in my own crypto strategies recently. So in this video, I'm going to break down all 9 mistakes, explain how each one cost me money, and more importantly, how you can avoid them. Because at the end of the day, becoming profitable isn't just about finding some winning strategy. It's about stopping the things that are crushing your account. So let's get straight into this. Mistake number 1 is data snooping. This is probably one of the most dangerous mistakes on the list because it feels like you're doing everything right. Data snooping is when you keep on running optimizations on your backtest until you find the best historical result. You look at the equity curve going up and to the right and you think, hey, you must have cracked it. You found a working strategy, but you haven't actually found a strategy that works. You found a strategy that works on past data because you forced it to. Then once you go live, it will completely fall apart. Now the fix is actually pretty simple. Use historical data sparingly. Do not keep on rerunning optimizations until the results look better. Test your strategy, get your results, and move on. If it doesn't work, find a different strategy. Don't torture the data. I know this sounds very simple to do, but still, even with systematic traders I've known for quite a while, sometimes they'll fall into this trap of where they don't treat historical data as something that is incredibly valuable. The second you run more and more optimizations over your historical data is ultimately becoming data that you can't trust anymore because you've tested so many different things on it that at some point, obviously something is going to work historically. Now, mistake number 2 is strategy hopping. When you find a strategy, you start running it, and then within 2 weeks, maybe it has a couple of bad losing trades. So you abandon it and chase the latest thing you saw online. The problem is, every strategy goes through drawdowns. If you abandon a strategy at the first sign of underperformance, you'll never stick to anything long enough to actually see the result. Now, the fix for this one is very simple. I personally allocate at least 3 months, give or take, to every single strategy that I'm determined to take live. Now, obviously, I have quite a thorough backtesting process, so not a lot of strategies actually get through to that point, but if they do, I'm giving it at least 3 to 6 months for it to prove itself. That doesn't mean it has to be on huge size or I'm, increasing a lot of size on it. Sometimes it'll still be very small size for that period of time. But the worst thing you can do is spend all this time backtesting, find a really solid idea, and then abandon it in 2 weeks just because it had a couple of losing trades. And keep in mind, sometimes losing can last a lot longer than you ever expect. Now, backtesting can help you give those expectations of, what's the average drawdown, all those sort of things. But sometimes strategies do go into drawdowns for weeks and even months. Now, mistake number 3 is ignoring your costs. This one doesn't always feel like a mistake. It just quietly eats your profits without you really noticing. And the reason is most people don't account for these in their backtest. They see a strategy returning maybe, let's say 30% a year. Maybe it's a very good strategy. But then once you subtract real costs on every single trade, that 30% might become 15 or 5 or even negative. I've seen strategies that have looked incredible on paper become complete losers once realistic costs were factored in. The fix is to always include realistic cost assumptions into your backtest. If anything, I would always recommend overestimating maybe a bit because slippage in live markets is always worse than you'd really normally model. And this also goes against, I always hear someone, kind of push back on this point saying that, well, you actually can get positive slippage. You can get, slippage that's going to actually give you some money extra, give you a better entry. While that's great, and when that happens, that's amazing, I don't want to, assume in my backtest that, hey, I'm going to get that most of the time, because it's very difficult to also say, well, let's try and estimate. Is it 30% of the time you're getting positive slippage? Is it 20? Is it 50? And by that point, I'm spending too much time on something that isn't going to, actually improve the strategy that much. I would prefer to overestimate that, hey, it's actually probably going to be worse than I think. And then if it still looks good on historically, then hey, that's even better. When I take it live, then maybe it'll perform even better than my historical backtest. Now, that's probably rare, but that's always the argument of that you always want to treat your backtest and stress test your backtest more, because trading live is very, very difficult. There's a lot of things that you maybe don't factor in or maybe don't even notice until you actually trade it live. Now, mistake number 4 is feature creep. Let's say you have a strategy that kind of works. So you start adding extra filters or extra indicators. Maybe that's a volatility filter. Maybe it's a sentiment score. Every time you add something though, the backtest looks to improve. But what you're actually doing is overfitting. You're adding complexity to account for every specific scenario that happened in the past, and all that complexity makes your strategy very fragile in the future. My rule really is that if you add any extra feature, it needs to earn its place. It should improve performance across multiple test periods by a significant margin. If it only helps in one specific scenario, now I'll give the exception that obviously if it's a stress event or if you're testing a strategy against like a really big risk event and you want to add one particular filter for that, as a protection, that makes complete sense. But if you're just adding it because you saw, hey, last week it lost on this day and it shouldn't have lost because I'm going to add this new filter, don't do that. You're just going to be fitting to noise. For the most part, keep it simple. The best strategies I run are incredibly simple and really not complex at all. And it's because they're based on core principles like risk premiums, trend following, momentum, etc. Now, mistake number 5 is position sizing. I actually just did a whole video on this, on different formulas and different ways to do position sizing. I'll try and leave a link in the description, or you can just check it out on my channel. But the mistake is most traders focus entirely on entries and exits and completely ignore how they're doing position sizing. And that question of how much is what determines whether you survive or blow up. It can also turn an unprofitable strategy into a profitable strategy if you do a different way of position sizing. And this isn't just for new traders. I've seen amazing traders with very good strategies completely destroy their accounts because they sized way too aggressively. Because if you have too much risk, just a couple of losses, let's say, and let's say you're using something very aggressive like a Kelly criterion, you could lose 40% or even more of your account. And then more importantly, I think the thing that everyone forgets is once that happens, normally psychology takes over, and then you just start to spiral. Now, the fix to this is to have a systematic approach and start with very conservative position sizing for the most part. Start with 1 or maybe 2% of your account per trade. And as you get more advanced, look into things like volatility targeting and the way to equalize risk across different assets. Those things can really improve a strategy and also decrease your risk profile where you can get better risk-adjusted returns. But the main point here is don't forget about position sizing. It's actually a huge part of trading that really doesn't get talked about enough. Now, mistake number 6 is the genius trap. This is the belief you need to create something completely original to be profitable. I wasted so much time trying to build strategies that nobody had ever heard of, things that are overly complex and ultimately became very fragile and just didn't work at all. Just to name a few, I've tried all the classic things you'll see mentioned online, like machine learning, adding different filters, trying to do a neural network and all those sort of things, because a lot of the time in other careers and other pursuits of life, trying harder or, doing the more advanced method can sometimes be better and lead you to better results. Whereas in trading, at least from what I've seen, doing simpler things, but incredibly well and executed incredibly well, normally performs better in the long term. This normally comes from known concepts that already exist in most markets, like momentum, mean reversion, trend following. All those things have persisted across many markets for a long period of time now, and is what you'd normally call a risk premium. And those can be very good foundational strategies that you can execute very well, and you can still make very good returns. And it's not just me that thinks this. Ernest Chan, an ex-hedge fund trader, and he also specializes in machine learning, ironically, he can tell you that most of the time, the best things to do is start simple.
So it is very hard to just sit there and just daydream and say, oh, I think that this trade will work, right? It seldom happens that way. Usually it's inspired by what you read. There are many, many academic papers on different trading strategies. There are many, many blog posts on simple trading strategies. So the sources of ideas, many books also, mine as well and others. So the actual trick of the trade is not the original idea generation, because there are already thousands of them out there. All you need is to read and listen.
Your edge often comes from implementing proven concepts better than everyone else. Better execution, better risk management, better identification is an incredibly easy strategy to understand and actually deploy. But the difficult part is drawdowns can be very long, volatility can be quite high, and most of the time, most people are going to fall under that pressure when running that strategy, and they're going to stop it at the worst time, or they're going to try and modify it and then overall create an overfit strategy. The difficult thing with trend following is actually sticking to it for a long period of time. Now, mistake number 7 is not having clear trading criteria. This is just an excerpt from a very good book, which talks about the idea of simple trading rules. But the main point here for this mistake is most traders start discretionary. I know I did, and that can take years to develop the skills necessary to develop a solid discretionary strategy. And if I'm being frank, most people are just not naturally good at discretionary trading. I've only met a handful of amazing discretionary traders over the past 6 years, and I've also seen hundreds and hundreds of traders try to be discretionary and ultimately fail. My approach is I prefer to look at data-driven approaches, like using backtesting and automation, to turn simple strategies and to have them automate for me. And this ultimately isn't possible if you have unclear criteria. And ultimately, unclear criteria leads to where emotions can creep in, like fear, greed, FOMO, and they can all disguise themselves as analysis. The fix here is incredibly simple. You want to establish very clear rules. What are the exact entry conditions, exit, position sizing, etc. Now, you could write them down or you could code them up nowadays, and then slavishly, you just have to stick to them. And if your rules are clear enough that a computer could follow them, you're on the right track. Just one extra point about this. A lot of the time people struggle to put clear rules because they want to add all those discretionary elements into their strategy. Ultimately, it's a pros and cons list. You can't have every discretionary judgment into your clearly defined and coded rules. Sometimes you're going to have to leave some of those as just discretionary trading kind of journey, and you're going to have to give up that nuance when becoming systematic. but then you get all the other benefits of being systematic, like being able to automate, being able to backtest properly, all those sort of things. Now, mistake number 8 is impatience. It's incredibly simple, but it probably actually destroys more accounts than any bad strategy. And I know this sounds ironic, but I grew my account a lot faster when I accepted that it would take years for me to become profitable or, make a good amount of money from trading. It sounds a bit counterintuitive, but the main thing that stopped when I tried to focus more on the long term is I stopped chasing 5x, 10x returns in a week and started thinking in terms of consistency, monthly performance over years. Because the thing is, 5x returns almost never happen. And when they do, it's very easy to give them all back because you start chasing the next 5x return. Now, ultimately, sustainable compounding is a lot more boring. You're not making as much money. You're not making it as fast. It's going to take a lot longer. But being patient and giving your strategies time gives yourself time, and it gives yourself time to improve and actually stick to the proper principles of trading. Now, mistake number 9 is that thinking your strategies will last forever. Finding your first profitable strategy feels like you've completed trading. Like you can just let it run and it'll make you money every day. But the unfortunate truth is alpha does decay in trading. The edge you have today might not exist in 6 months from now. Markets change, more participants discover the same patterns, and ultimately the only fix to this is continuous research. Always be testing new ideas, always developing new strategies, because ultimately what you want to do is build a diversified portfolio so that when one decays, you have other strategies that are keeping you going. This ties back to what I mentioned in almost every video that hedge fund managers like Ray Dalio and the late Jim Simons have always talked about. The holy grail isn't one perfect strategy. It is a collection of uncorrelated strategies or signals working together. Now, I'll leave you with this profound clip from Jim Simons where he actually talks about this. And my apologies for having this slightly scuffed video again. I did buy a camera and a microphone while I'm away from Dubai at the moment, but I hope you found this video useful and stick around for this clip.
You have to, in a business like this, just keep making things better, keep improving the system, because other parts of it are going to wear out. Like in any business, you just have to make things better and better and better, because that's what everyone else is trying to do.